A podcast divided. The Cubs signed Cody Bellinger.
Okay. Just introduce yourself.
After the intro, I'm Daniel, and I'm a Cubs fan.
I'm Andy, and I'm a Sox fan.
And see you after the intro.
Your Daily Cubs White Sox podcast, the best place for all the baseball debate you need.
And breaking news on the north side of Chicago. The Chicago Cubs signed Cody Bellinger. And welcome Cherry Slush to the live stream. And this will be an amazing day because today is the day where the Cubs finally make a move, and it's another good move. And Jed is actually being good. Jed actually is making smart moves. And I thought it wasn't going to work out. I thought the smart moves weren't going to work with Harris. I thought Boris would never agree to a good move for the Cubs, but he did on the good contract, 3 years, 18 years. And Andy, what do you think about this contract?
I mean, as a Sox fan, I have to admit, what a steal. Even if he doesn't pan out, like even if he returns to his formerly really bad Dodgers self, it would honestly probably be worth the risk, which is very unfortunate to me as a Sox fan who just has to watch our team make little mini goofy moves. And, I thought the Cubs were going to be like the Sox, but then I remembered. Well, I actually didn't remember. I found out that they wouldn't. And how does Scott Boras let this happen? First, it was like, Cody Bellinger isn't going to agree to anything under $200 million. And then he agrees to this.
Yeah,
in my opinion, that's pretty hypocritical. But you know what? I think this makes the Cubs better. But, I still have a hunch that they're not going to be World Series champions anytime soon because, they're the Cubs and everything. And that's not even biased. That's backed up by historical evidence. So,
yeah. You can definitely make the case that we're not sure contenders, and I'd agree with that case. I wouldn't argue with that, but I think we're definitely in contention. And I have an article pulled up that I was reading earlier today. 3 reasons why the Cody Bellinger signing makes the Cubs immediate contenders. Number one.
All right, wait. Who is this article from?
It's literally it's like on Microsoft articles. It's like the top article.
Okay, well, I guess that wouldn't be too biased.
Number one, there are few better versatile defenders. Number two, they were borderline contenders anyway. Number three, he can hit Chicago Bellinger. So, what my thoughts on that is that we're going to be in contention for the playoffs. And I think you have to be careful saying we're in contention for the World Series. We're not going to be a World Series top candidate, but we're going to be a team that could make it as a sneaky team.
Yeah, I would say you guys are in the same position as you were last year. You guys could make the playoffs, but then again, you couldn't. You're probably not going to make the World Series. You're not going to really shout at anybody. You're not going to turn many heads, most likely. But you do have a chance of being a sneaky team, making it to the playoffs. Maybe if you're lucky, making it past a round. I doubt too.
Yeah, that's all true. And the nice thing about the playoffs is that once you make it, anything can happen. And, I definitely think that we won't be favorites in the playoffs. But, I mean, definitely in this weak division, I'm really happy this move is happening because if it wasn't for this move, losing Candelario, he would have been one of the best hitters for the Cubs this year if it wasn't for Bellinger signing now because the team would just be that bad, hitting-wise. And you can't just have good defense because you even if you allow no runs, you're still going to end up being tied until you eventually lose. You need to score some, is my point. So this move helps with that. And you thought we were talking about a little bit earlier about how friendly this contract is, team friendly, and it's great because the $200 million, I thought he wasn't going to go under 180. It's interesting. This contract is about $27 million a year, so it's high AAV, higher than expected for most people. But it's so short, 3 years, that even if he does bad, like in the case of a 10-year contract, you'd have to deal with him and keep him on and pay him a lot for so long. But here, he's going to continue to be good. It's probably going to be in the next few years. And even if he's not, it won't hurt us that much versus a longer contract where we have to give up more money. And so length helps, and that really helps with security too, because we might not need him after 3 years with all the prospects if they pan
All right,
out.
dude, chill out.
I mean, that's just like how it works. Like, you want your prospects to be up. You don't want to block them, or else you have to trade them, and then you miss out. That's one thing. The clubs have to be careful not to like block any of their prospects.
Yeah, this is the perfect deal. I mean, you get a cheap contract, so you can sign more people, and you get it's a short-term contract, so Cody Bellinger doesn't end up like Chris Davis, where he's super horrible and he's basically a minor leaguer, and you got him locked in for like 10 years. So yeah.
And Hayward, I've brought him up a lot.
And Hayward also.
And if you look at the top 2024, 2025 free agents, some of these guys are going to be on bad teams, and these bad teams might trade them. And you think about, we could make a trade, for example, for Pete Alonso at the deadline, and then be a surefire contender and win 90 games. If we have Alonso, we're definitely winning 90 games.
You don't know that.
I think so. I mean, we're a team that's led by Hector Neris, a team leader, a very reliable bullpen arm, who's shown that repeatedly. And then we've got a lot of young guys who've had success, and we can expect at least some of them to continue that. And then we have a rotation that's filled with enough pitchers where it's like, okay, this is decent. It's not going to be all the Cy Young guys, and even Imanaga is not going to be a Cy Young contender. Like he's probably going to be over 3, but all these guys are good enough in this rotation where this rotation is actually solid, and you don't even need 90 wins probably to win this division. But I think we could get there if we made a trade. I think right now we're at 85 is my number. Give or take some things happening. Like in baseball, stuff happens. You get injuries. Sometimes you get lucky. Sometimes you get unlucky. Like stuff happens. Like one-run games is one thing that Craig Counsell will help the Cubs with, because we lost a lot of those, and he helped the Brewers win all of those almost, if you look at those stats, and he will actually manage this team. And therefore, like the team will actually be better with him than they would be otherwise. It's also true that there is some like room for the Cubs to be worse or the Cubs to be better.
Yeah, I agree with that. The Cubs, just baseball in general, it's basically impossible to predict which teams are going to be good and which teams are going to be bad, even though like they're looking right, just like in front of you, right in the face of how good they might be on paper. Like say 2021, for example, in the NL West, the Giants, out of all the teams, won the division, who looked like that they could get maybe 70 wins. They won the division with 107 of them, beating the Dodgers. And then the Padres, who looked like that they could have gotten 100 wins, at least 90, they didn't even make the playoffs. So baseball is an extremely hard sport to predict. And in my opinion, sports is just hard to predict in general. Like no one predicted a Diamondbacks Rangers World Series. So in my opinion, the Cubs, they could be good, but they could also be bad. And that's why I really don't like making predictions. It's just because you never know what's going to happen. Like the stupidest, craziest thing could happen. So yeah, I think the Cubs need to prove themselves by the way they play, not the way they look on paper. Because the way they look on paper, like you said, it's a team that's like it's smelling the playoffs. It's not like locked into the playoffs, but it's not locked into tanking. So yeah. The Cubs really need to prove themselves on the
I
field.
think part of the playoffs part too is that this division is so weak that a playoff team in the NL Central is different than a playoff team in the NL East, for example. Like it's a lot easier for us to be even though our win totals maybe not as high as some teams, with this win total, we have the advantage of being able to win the division with less games. And I think there is definitely some variation for our team, like how good we can do. But I mean, you do think about how important the trade deadline is. I think playing good in the first half will be very important because you think about like last year, we really just made a comeback and started playing well right before the trade deadline. And that's why we didn't sell, and that's why we actually traded for Candelario and stuff. And so you could make the case that the most important part of the season will be the first half because of all the very appealing guys on the trade deadline. On the trade market because of their contracts expiring. Some of them are on bad teams, like a lot of these guys have already got traded. So this article is a little old, but like Bregman, for example, you could argue that because the Astros are so good, they won't want to keep him. But think about Carlos Correa. Remember how he got replaced by Jeremy Pena, and Jeremy Pena ended up doing better. And the Astros, that smart move, like not keeping the guy. Like you think like maybe the Cubs could actually trade for Bregman. But then with that logic, you could also say that although it might be good for the Astros, if it is good for the Astros, that means it wouldn't be that smart for the Cubs. But also, like Pete Alonso is the guy I would want. Like he's on everything fits, right? He's on a bad team, right?
Well, he's on a team that needs to prove themselves this year. They look good on paper, but last year they were just awful. So I don't know what to think of the Mets. I think that they're probably going to be around a 75-win team. So yeah, probably a mid team.
I mean, yeah, you sound a little even more excited about the Mets than me. I'm like, I don't really see them doing that well, but like they definitely do have potential. But like we were saying earlier, like on other ones, like other podcasts, they've just been like focusing on free agents, and that's not the key to success long term. But that doesn't mean that they can't be good. They just were a pretty big failure last year. But I see it. I think it's a very likely scenario that the Mets are not very good. The Cubs are decent enough where they can justify making a trade, and then the Cubs being in negotiations. And I'm not sure how much the Mets want to make that trade. But I know the rumors were out early this offseason. I know there were rumors that Alonso said that he wants to be a Cub. And do you really see the Mets re-signing Alonso after 2024 if they have spent so much money and they're already in so much debt? Like, is that even an option for them?
I don't know. You got anything else to talk about, Bellinger? Because I also have a topic I want to share.
Well, that definitely Cody Bellinger. I would like to say too, the people aren't going to talk about us that much, but we are actually a really good team, and Bellinger helps that a lot. And you think about the Diamondbacks last year, they were from the time the Cubs had that really good from the time when the Cubs started playing good in early July, from that time to the Cubs collapse in the last couple of weeks, the Diamondbacks were below the Cubs and they were looking for the third wild card spot, and we were in the second. And obviously, you could argue about who has a better team on paper. And then, like we were saying, in baseball, you never know what's going to happen. But what ended up happening was the Diamondbacks making it into the World Series. So I definitely see a path for the Cubs, but it's not a sure path. For the Dodgers, I mean, we know they're going to be at least 90 wins and probably at least 100. And That's actually crazy to say, but I mean, how can they not win 100 games if they won 100 last year with their pitching staff injured and without Ohtani and Yamamoto? I think they actually
Yeah.
should have a win record if they get lucky. I mean, like you mentioned the Giants like a few years in 2021. That was actually like so lucky. If the Dodgers had that amount of luck, they'd win like 125.
They would, because the Giants, they were a no-show coming into the end of the 2021 season, and then the year after that they became a no-show again. It's like they just had that 1 year of dominance for literally no reason.
Yeah, and like before we switch to your White Sox stuff, a few
Fascinating to me.
other people. Ha-Sung Kim will be a free agent after next year. Now I don't know. He's been a disaster recently, but then again, he's also been good enough where he's like last year he hit 260 with 17 home runs. Like the Padres are pretty not happy about him, but he's an option. Shane Bieber, right-handed pitcher.
Jeez, Shane Bieber.
I mean, the Guardians aren't a sure candidate for being amazing. Like maybe they'll actually want to trade him. You never know. And then Paul Goldschmidt. I don't know if the Cardinals will agree to that, but because they'd be pretty much signing up for their division to be unwinnable for the next few years, and them being a bad team for the next few years. And then Walker Buehler. Now I believe it. Yeah, he was hurt last year, but in 2022 he had a 4 ERA, so he hasn't been good recently. But although he has had multiple Tommy Johns, he could actually be a game changer if he's healthy. Max Fried, he's a really nice option.
Oh, my goodness. You're hyping yourself up for a year from now.
Well, no, these guys contracts are expiring after 2024. So if their team is bad, they're gonna get traded at the trade deadline potentially.
Yeah,
and the Cubs.
I don't know if the Braves are gonna trade Max Fried, dude.
Yeah, I don't know how. I don't think the Max Fried one would be that realistic. Honestly, the most realistic one is probably just Alonso, because all these other guys are on pretty good teams. Where like, and I don't know. Honestly, Alonso makes the most sense out of all of those. If you're looking at the A tier, I'm sure there are a billion B tier guys like Candelario last year who could help. All those, I'm sure there are tons of guys who would help us, but they wouldn't be like the start to bring in. So, anyways, after this break, we will be back with White Sox stuff. So, on this channel, we like to talk about SeatGeek.
Woo, SeatGeek, all right.
So, and SeatGeek is sponsoring us on all the channels through affiliate marketing, and they are pretty much they gave us a code Fort Boys for all the channels, and if you put that in, you'll get $20 off your first purchase on SeatGeek. So use that because they are a great app. They tell you about each seat, how good it is. They rate it on the scale of 1 to 10. They do literally everything that you could want, even anything you could want to get your best ticketing app and best experience. So use that. And welcome back to a podcast divided. Now we're going to be doing some White Sox stuff by Andy.
All right, so the Chicago White Sox. Well, we've had some good news about the stadium. The stadium, it looks pretty good. It's in a prime location. Obviously, I'm not talking about the one that we have now. The new one that is that could possibly be built. And a few days ago, I would say maybe a week ago, we had some news that that they're actually talking about funds for the stadium. Is it going to be privately or publicly funded? And what I mean by this is, are the people of Illinois going to pay for this in their taxes? Are they going to pay for the stadium, or privately? Is someone just going to pay for it themselves? Is some rich dude just going to pay for the stadium to be built? And Governor J.B. Pritzker, he wanted it to be privately funded. And Jerry Reinsdorf, the owner of the White Sox, was like, no, we're actually going to have the public pay $1 billion of this stadium, and the stadium's estimated to be probably about 1.5 billion. So he'd probably be paying 500 million of the 1.5 billion. Quick maths. So yeah, it seems like you and me, we're gonna have to pay about. I did the calculations about of everyone. I think it was in the greater Chicagoland. No, I think it was Illinois actually. I remember doing this about a week ago. Everyone in Illinois would have to pay about $100 each for this stadium, which that doesn't sound fun, does it? Because taking all the people who don't have $100 in Illinois, it's not.
Everyone who can would have to pay more.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not the best situation, and you want to guess how much Jerry Reinsdorf's net worth is?
Probably 5 billion.
Well, you're 2.4 billion. He could pay for this stadium himself and have almost $1 billion left to spare. And in my opinion, $1 billion, it's a good amount of money to live off of, especially when you have about 5 years left. So yeah, this is just not good news at all. I mean, he could pay for it himself, but then he just is going to decide to just leave it all to Illinois. And this is what he did in the early 90s when the White Sox were threatening to move to Tampa Bay. He was like, okay, either we're going to build a new stadium here and you guys that live in Chicago are going to pay for it, or we're going to move to Florida. And obviously the people of Illinois paid, and the White Sox are not in Florida. And this is exactly what's going on again. It's like blackmail. It's awful. So he just needs to sell the team, give it to an owner who can pay for the White Sox, who can pay for the White Sox to be good, and who has passion for the team. Because, well, he has one of those things, and it's certainly not passion. So yeah, just please sell the team, Jerry. I mean, please. That's what's going on with the White Sox. I just hope that one, they get this stadium to be privately funded, which it 99% won't be, and two, that when they actually do get the stadium, which I hope they do, in the South Loop, that they actually put some good product on the field, because that's what it's about. It's not just about the stadium. It's about putting a good team on the field.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's very important. Like the Cubs, they for a lot of their history, they focused on making a very nice stadium instead of being a good team. And all those Cubs fans had to deal with all the suffering. Would have loved to just be able to have some a good team on the field, good baseball. So hopefully the White Sox, for you at least, not for me. I don't hope this, but hopefully for you, the White Sox do good. But hopefully for you.
Yeah, I really don't want them to move, and then I have to be a Cubs fan. That would be awful. Because
we are the world champions.
Yeah, we are too, dude. Both of us won it 3 times. Us against you once. Okay, I think we're the better champions.
What's more recent, 16 or 05?
You keep bringing that up. We have the same amount of World Series championships.
What's more recent, 06 or 16? Wait, 05 or 16?
06. How long did it take you guys to win the World Series from 1908 to 2016?
To be fair, it took you guys 86 years, so you guys had one of the longest streaks.
Well, 108 is a lot more than 86, dude. That's the largest drought in all of sports by far. So I don't know if I'd be talking about how great my team is.
Well, I would be.
All right, well, I don't have anything to talk about. Do you?
I do have one thing I just found out about Bellinger. I'm trying to research this. I believe there are a ton of clauses in his contract.
Like a no trade clause?
I'm not really sure. Anyways, though, yeah, there are multiple opt-outs, and so he will get paid $18 million guaranteed, and opt-outs, and he has opt-outs after year 1 and year 2. So he can re-enter the free agency after 2024 and 2025. And then obviously 2026 he can, because that's the end of his contract.
Yeah, it's the end of his contract. Yeah.
So, although, do you really think that he's gonna be paid? So in the first 2 years, he's gonna make $30 million each. No one's gonna give him more than $30 million a year, $30 million per. So he's probably not gonna leave the Cubs after those years, especially if he does bad. Now, if he's the MVP, even then, I mean, would you give him $30 million if he was
Yes.
if he was? Because that's like one of the highest salaries. Like if you look at highest MLB salaries, like a lot of they're like the best players making like 25 million. Like you look at this like obviously Ohtani 70, Scherzer 43, Verlander also 43, Judge 40. Is he Aaron Judge though?
Yes.
You look at these guys like, yes, he is not Aaron Judge. You look at all these guys, like they're making like 24 million. Like Zach Wheeler's making 23. Aaron Nola's making 24. Swanson's making 26. But
That's sad. He's not an MVP at all.
like yeah, I know. Like you think about Trey Turner, only 27. Like some of these players are actually bad, but like, and they're like on bad contracts, but some of them are actually like really good, and they're like in the same range that Bellinger would be looking for if he wanted a new contract. And also, with this contract, he's really saying that he doesn't want to leave,
Mm-hmm.
or else he wouldn't sign this probably, because that would make no sense. So, the next 3 years will probably be Cody Bellinger Cubs years.
Yeah, probably. Well, yeah.
Turn off my phone. Bro, it's still ringing. Anyways, it's been fun, Andy. Nice to talk baseball. Also, spring training has started, so that's really
good. Yeah, nice.
Cubs won 8-1 versus the White Sox, and then proceeded to beat the Giants, and are going to go on to get a new win today. So thank you guys for watching, and until next time, see you later.